Hello, we're live on VAR Nation. This is DCU Tonight, and I'm your host, Rock VAR. Thank you for joining us for this end-of-week show of end-of-week episode of DCU Tonight. We have a lot to talk about. We're wrapping up a week in DC TV. We've got DC Comics to mosey over to. Check out some hashtag DC TV secrets, and a lot of stuff to talk about in DCUO. Following yesterday's live stream from the devs. It was quite awesome. If you haven't seen it, I urge you to go over and take a look on DCUniverseOnline.com. You can go into the announcement section, and there's an announcement from our creative director, SJ. You can watch it there, or you can go, and I suggest it. It's about a half hour long. You're going to see the new content that's coming in episode 22, which is now live on PC Test. You can check that out there. It's also going to go into a little bit of detail about the rewards that are coming and little foreshadowing of some base items that are going to come out in episode 22, which you can see in that live stream. You can also check that out on VAR Nation. We recently put up a video on the channel that shows off those new base items, and I'm going to talk about that in a little bit. But those things, I actually couldn't speak for a good 10 minutes when I saw those. I paused the video because I didn't get to watch the stream live this week. So I paused the video, and we both, myself and Lida, sat on the couch and looked at this beautiful base items. And there was nothing that we could say to describe. There's nothing that can be said about it to describe it. For those of you who haven't seen it, it's the new movie posters for Batman v Superman. It's Wonder Woman, it's Batman, it's Superman. It's one of Batman and Superman together. They have the Batman-Superman logo behind them, and it's one of Wonder Woman by herself. And they are the most beautiful things I think I've ever seen in this game. They are so lifelike, it's almost scary. The light pops in the back. I tried to emulate that a little bit when I put those photos into the see, what I did was took a screenshot of the actual stream and then enhanced the images so that the colors looked better, and so it looked more like it actually looked live, because live, when they showed it, there was a lot more depth to it than was visible in the screenshot. So I hoped that came through in that little video clip, but if not, definitely go and watch the stream that SJ did, because you're going to see the live action version of it. It doesn't move or anything, but it's just, in the moment type of a thing. And, again, that's only about 30 minutes, so 38 minutes, something like that. But they show you a good bit of what's coming in episode 22. I'm going to go into a bit more detail on what's coming in episode 22 and dive into what's happening in Game Update 58. And this will all be, actually is all posted on the forums right now. So MEPS put that up there so we would have a good idea of what's coming. If you're playing on PC, I highly urge you to download the PC test client and help test. It could be nothing but fun. As soon as I have a PC that will, handle it, I will do that. I see that now that we are merged with PC, we're still not, the PlayStation people still can't do the testing. Boo! No, I understand why, I guess. I mean, I don't really, because I'm not techie enough to really know, but I can live with it. I will just get a PC and try to get on PC test. That is my dream. That is my dream, ladies and gentlemen. So for those of you who haven't watched that yet, I'm going to spill a little bit of the beans right now on episode 22 and read what's listed on the forums here to describe it in the announcement section on DCUniverseOnline.com. If you're new to the show, hello, thank you for joining us. What we do 3 times a week is we go over DCUO news and topics that have popped up in the world of DC Universe Online. Then we talk about the DC TV for that section of the week. I break it up into the 3 sections, so we only talk about 2 shows per episode. Monday's 1 show. But, and normally we end with just going to DC Comics. And tonight I'm going to do some streaming after the show because I'm going to take a break afterwards and then come back on and stream some of the Love Conquers All, because it is Valentine's Day weekend, gentlemen. If this is an all-gentlemen audience, don't forget your ladies need to be loved. They need to not feel the mode. They need to be modeless. And what better way to do that than to play DCUO? Maybe not. For me, that's the case. Oh, I'm sorry if it's not for you. My wife loves the game as much as I do, if not more. However, she is baking bun in oven, and that requires her to get rest, which is what she's doing right now. I don't know if she'll be on a stream later tonight or not, possibly. But for the meantime, I've lost my co-host for a little bit. But Kara's still here with me, and occasionally she'll bark, so maybe that'll... I did go over tonight's topics with Lyda for her proofreading, because I tend to forget a lot of things that happen. But anyway, in episode 22, new 4-player operation titled The Phantom Zone. And if you go watch the stream that they did on the DCUO Twitch channel yesterday, they're going to show you what the Phantom Zone looks like in more detail inside this mission. But they actually soloed it. It was pretty phenomenal, and one-shotted a lot of the enemies. The Fortress of Solitude's defense systems are malfunctioning just as Superman is busy investigating an incredible off-world threat. The source appears to be the Phantom Zone projector. Superman needs trusted heroes to help check out the disturbance. Meanwhile, Lex Luthor has inserted he's inserted listening devices in the fortress during the fortress raids long ago, is calling on villains to come play while Superman's away. So Lex is trying to pull everybody into the Phantom Zone to create chaos. In this new 4-player operation, Phantom Zone, unlock the Elite mode, gain access to new feats, collections, and gear, and free access for members. Of course, it's free access for members. I got all excited about that. That's no news. To play this new 4-player alert, your character must be a level 30 and must have a minimum combat rating of 146. You can find that by opening your on-duty menu there, going down to the Tier 7 Alerts tab. I'm guessing that's going to be coming in early March. They didn't give a date, so it's on test now. If we don't get it the end of this month, well, yeah. It's going to be March. It's going to be like the first week in March, I'm going to assume, from previous encounters. There's also a new solo mission. The new solo mission is for the prompt for why I'm here at this different setting than where I would normally be. You might notice the backdrop is a little bit different, and I'm here to celebrate the new solo mission, which I think is phenomenal. They have put it at the Science Spire. In fact, the title is in fact the Science Spire. Something went down in the Phantom Zone, and a certain prisoner has escaped along with his followers. They're talking about Zod. Lois Lane, intrepid reporter, is on the case. Her sources have described sightings of Kryptonians near Lex Luthor's Science Spire, and she believes they are after information stored there. Help Lois break in and investigate before she's the one getting scooped in the new solo, the Science Spire. Gain access to new feats, collections, and gear. To play this solo content, your character must be a level 30 and have a minimum combat rating of 146 as well. And it looked beautiful. The inside of the Science Spire was every bit of the tech wonderfulness that I had hoped that it would be, and of course it would be, because it's also the home of Our Nation Studios, which is where I'm broadcasting today before I walk off of a ledge. So we're going to get to go inside this bad boy. And I'll swing around here so we can see this view, this wonderful, wonderful view of Metropolis. So if you don't play DCUO, I've said it many times, this alone is a reason to play this game. Look at this view. This is Metropolis from atop the Science Spire, which is almost the tallest point that you can get to in Metropolis. You can't actually get to the top of it. And everything you see here, you can go visit, except for those hills way over there. But we can't even get to the top of it. But a wonderful view that we have in Metropolis. Today is the backdrop for DCU tonight. But inside, it will be where we help Lois Lane defeat Zod. So, behind me. There we go. So, and when you watch the video on the DCUO YouTube channel, you will see that Lois Lane looks phenomenal. You follow Lois through the entire mission. She kind of tanks for you, and how cool! It can't get any cooler than that. Going through a mission, hanging out with Lois, protecting her, taking care of Superman's gal. That's a lot of trust. It's a lot of trust that the big guy put into us. So I think that it's, important that we play the crap out of it and bludgeon Zod back to the Phantom Zone, if that can be the case. I don't know if that's where they're trying to send him, because I haven't played it yet, and they didn't show the entire thing. Obviously, they want to save a little bit of it. But if that's the game, that's what I'm doing. I'm spanking Zod all the way back to the Phantom Zone and protecting my cousin's gal Lois. My character's cousin's gal Lois, I should say. But with episode 22 comes those Superman, Batman base items. Not only do you get several other types of base items in this new episode, we're going to have base items that are basically pieces of decor, or not decor, it would be like structural I'm going to call it structural items, things to make, put towers here and there and beams here and there, and just to make your base look a little bit different than everybody else's, because we have pretty stock bases, and especially I like to use tech layers, and because they're techy, and because you have the metal beams and you've got the graded metal floors, and I dig it. Well, this will be giving me the ability to alter that slightly by placing these similar-looking base items. They look a lot like the Kryptonian stuff that you're going to see in this episode, which also brings me to the styles in this episode are going to be very Kryptonian-looking, from what the Kryptonian soldiers are wearing. Those are the styles that we're finally going to get. We're finally going to get that badass helmet that looks like RoboCop, kind of, they'd said in the stream. And it does, but it's also the one that the Kryptonian guards are wearing. You're going to get those finally. But the only problem is they won't have the crest. So you're not going to get the little Superman emblem in the corner of the shirt like I so desperately want and have already, so it's not a big, huge deal. They have, there's something in the game already that has that. But outside of that, it's really badass, and I'm super, super, super excited for episode 22. I didn't think the Kryptonian stuff was going to come on this fast, and I'm glad that it is. But outside of those base items, you're getting the Superman Batman movie posters, and like I said, they look identical to the the real life movie posters that you see that have the lights kind of across the bottom and light up in the back, and kind of like a gold frame-ish, kind of pretty thick type of thing. That's exactly what they look like, and they've done a hell of a job. The art team has done a hell of a job making those things look realistic. And if you haven't seen them, you need to do two things. Please go watch, share, and like my video on Varnation, where I show you the pictures, the screenshots of those base items. And also, go to DCUniverseOnline.com, go to their YouTube channel, and watch that video for the episode 22 rollout, because I in no way, shape, or form want to feel like I'm doing this as a rollout. You know what I mean? You guys will get all the information from them. I'm just commenting on some of the cool stuff that I'm excited about inside the thing. But I still really, really want you to go to their website, watch their video, like it, share it, comment in it, everything that you can do to help build the viewership of the game. Because it succeeds, we all succeed if we're looking at it that way. And I love DC Universe Online. I'd much rather DC Universe Online succeed than me have a podcast about it. That's the God's honest truth. If the only thing I could do is play the game, that is all I would do, and I would be super happy to do it. So anyway, in Game Update 58, we're going to see some changes to powers again. We're looking at more mid-range improvements. This time, the focus is munitions and rage. So, munitions has been pretty boss for a pretty long time. We all know that. I don't mind them being pretty boss. It makes sense that it's a strong power set. I don't feel that I'm competing with it at all, really. My time will come. Atomic will get nerfed before too long. I shouldn't say that very loud, but it will. So I'm not going to say it's a nerf, but obviously it's an adjustment to how much power is being done at mid-range as opposed to long-range. So it's kind of helping you if you're already fighting mid-range. It's giving you a little bit of a boost probably. But I'm going to go through and list these, and bear with me. I have played Rage. I have never played Munitions, so I have no clue about those powers at all. But the changes that we're going to see, it says with Game Update 58, we are continuing with the release of improvements to powers in-game by adding a mid-range damage option. This update includes changes to the Munitions and Rage power sets. A full list of improvements and updates are included in the full public notes. So, which we will get to right now. Alright, so Rage, we'll start with that. They increase the instant and power interaction damage caused by the following abilities when used from the tray. Eviscerating Chain, Without Mercy, Dreadful Blast, Frenzy, Ragebringer, and Revenge. So all of those powers that I just listed, Eviscerating Chain, Outrage, Rage Blast, Without Mercy, Dreadful Blast, Frenzy, Ragebringer, and Revenge, they're increasing the instant and power interaction damage caused by those abilities. When used from the tray, not on the when you're doing the combo for it, which isn't really a thing there. So they removed any damage restrictions to allow full advanced mechanic damage to be performed while in the tank role. Wow. So tanks will get their tanking effect for being in tank role, but your damage isn't being hindered anymore on Rage for the advanced mechanic damage. So we're going to see some more, hopefully, more tanks. Increase the duration of the Savage State to 3 seconds to allow a chance to recover from interruption. Plasma Retch now causes additional damage over time when applied while in a Savage State. That's cool. That's cool. Plasma Retch was pretty much my mainstay. I like to pop that for damage over time, and I'm liking the changes so far. Let's see. Dreadful Blast now causes increased damage, with the most damage being caused within 13 meters of a target. So the closer you are, the more damage Dreadful Blast is going to do. Okay, and Melee Rage combos now share the same damage potential as other short-range advanced mechanics, which is also cool. Okay, so nice. So that's a pretty good update for Rage. I'm happy with that. My Rage Tune's going to be thrilled. Not that he, thinks or has an opinion or anything, but I'm just saying. I'm gonna have to make some changes to the setup of the studio here. Pull the laptop back to me because I'm getting tired of looking over I have it sitting on the coffee table, and then I've got my TV behind it. I'm tired of looking at the freaking ground. Alright, munitions. Some changes to munitions that are happening with Game Update 58. They've increased the instant and power interactions damage caused by the following: flak cannon. That's flak. Like Aflac. Flak cannon. Laser net launcher. Multi-net launcher. Particle gun, rail guns. Smoke grenade launcher. Simply explosion. Chain gun. Shrapnel grenade launcher. Rocket launcher. Rocket jump. And pump action shotgun. So again, flak cannon, laser net launcher, multi-net launcher, particle gun, rail gun, smoke grenade launcher, explosion, chain gun, shrapnel grenade launcher, rocket jump, and pump action shotgun, all receiving an increase in power interaction and damage. So that's got to be exciting for munitions, folks, I would assume. Oops. Don't need that up there. I would be excited about that, I think. No, yes, maybe so. Leave it in the comments. I suggest either one of these if you're excited about what's to come in Game Update 58, or you don't think that it's a good change to the game. Leave it in the comments below the video once I get it posted. This is live right now. It's a live stream, but I will take it and edit and put back up on YouTube sometime over the weekend. This one probably won't be tonight because we're going to stream later. But so leave it in the comments. Your opinion is appreciated, I promise you. Bullet Frenzy Advanced Mechanic. The damage caused by Bullet Frenzy Advanced Mechanic increases based on how close you are to the target. You cause the most damage at short range, which is inside of 7 meters. Medium damage between 7 and 13 meters. And the least damage at long range, which is beyond 13. So pretty much lays it out there. Bullet Frenzy no longer silently fails if you accidentally use an ability too early. Instead, all Bullet Frenzy abilities now have a standard cooldown of 3.5 seconds. When Bullet Frenzy becomes active, any ability that can take advantage of Bullet Frenzy may be used. Next, while in combat, Bullet Frenzy becomes active after 1.5 seconds instead of 4 seconds. And they've increased the duration of Bullet Frenzy slightly, allowing a brief moment to recover before the effect fades. So those are the changes to munitions that are coming in Game Update 58. And like I said, if you like the changes, if you think it's going to be something that's exciting to boost your gameplay or make you enjoy the power set more, or if you don't enjoy it, constructively leave it in the comments below, and that's always good. And share the video, create the discussion, take it to the forums. There's always discussions about this on the forums, guys. DCUniverseonline.com. You can click on the forums, check the section you want to go to, announcements, to see what's happening. And you can look at topics there. They have developer discussion where they'll talk about new things to come in the game. Just all kinds of stuff that you can see and interact with and become part of the game. Literally digitized. They will digitize you and put you inside the game. No, but if they ever do, somebody please tell me, because I want to have that done to me. I want to be inside DC Universe Online. I like my character much more than I like myself because he can fly and I can only lazily shuffle. So, alright, so that's what's coming in Game Update 58. That's all the information available right now. We'll keep you posted if they post anything that's an update to that or an addition to that will help you or hurt you. Either way, we'll let you know. Will it be your demise, or will it be your, I don't know, your holy grail? Only time will tell. Next at 11. We have a note from our creative director, Nerd of Prey. I almost called her Bird of Prey. Nerd of Prey, SJ Nerd of Prey. Very cool, telling us a little bit, kind of the same stuff that we just went over as far as what was happening in the missions, the Phantom Zone, and the Science Spire. So I encourage you to go read that, give it a like on the forums, because she always does a very good job putting things into words, and that's where you can also watch the video, get a glimpse inside the Phantom Zone. Watch it all there. The live stream was very, very funny and very good. SJ was there. I think Locke was there. Meps was heard but not seen. He was kind of like the voice of God. I don't know where he was, but it sounded like he might be on the phone. But it was fun. It was a good watch. It was worth my time. I watched it, and then I watched Legends of Tomorrow. So, and there was a server hotfix on Wednesday, or actually it was on the 11th. Yeah. This was posted Wednesday. And so if you were wondering what happened in that hotfix, we have the patch notes for that right here. I'm going to read right now. The 8-player operation. Hello. Oh, wow, that guy's got cool wings. And I love the whole outfit, really. The 8-player Operation Prison Break. A tell has been added to Dr. Light's spin beam attack. The debuff duration for Dr. Light's Sunder Strike has been reduced. Many special attacks from Captain Cold and the Atom have been removed. And the feat description for Stuff of Legends has been updated. So if any of or either of those things were bothering you, they should no longer be a problem. In the duos, the Flash, or the first piece, they reworked Mercenary Sniper's marking beam ability to resolve an issue where he was becoming invulnerable after firing the ability under certain circumstances. Yeah, I encountered that one. Fixed an issue where oftentimes only the player would hear the opening communicator message. Fixed an issue where the mercenary turrets would predominantly attack the closest foe. Adjusted behaviors so that mercenary ghost enemies will reveal themselves a little sooner in the museum section. And adjusted one of the locations mercenaries inhibit in the museum to try and prevent an issue where sometimes one of the mercenaries spawned outside the world, preventing Hawkman from appearing. Also experienced that. The Flash Museum burglary will now grant the proper rewards for the entire 113 through 160 CR mark relevancy changes, or range. And that Lyda had an issue with a couple of days ago, she told me. And then the seasonal Valentine's Day, the Broken Heart t-shirt and Heart t-shirts are now available from the vendor in the Love's Battlefield event. So that is the DCUO news for the show, guys. That was a lot of DCUO news. I told you it was going to be going into it. I was not joking. Not even a little bit. And a lot to digest, I know. You really need to go watch that video and take a look at those Superman v. Batman base items if you haven't seen them. Don't leave the show right now, but, you know, do go check it out. And because we're about to switch over to the DC TV portion of the show, I am going to go back into the studio and go over to my DC TV themed studio or set, I guess I should say, so you can see it. And I'm going to talk, you know, obviously when these Superman v. Batman posters come out, I'm going to have an entire room lined with them. I don't know yet how they're going to come, if it's going to be a drop or if it's going to be like, you know, purchasable or what. If it's purchasable, I fear for the safety of myself because I may just, I don't know, go sell my car and spend all of the money on DCUO to get those base, because I want an entire room, I want it just lined with them, and that will be the new set for DCU tonight. But we do have to take a moment's break to check in with our sponsor, Mountain Dew, because it is the most delicious, most hydrating, most beloved product on the planet. We're back with DCU tonight. And that's just a joke, by the way. I'm in no way sponsored by Mountain Dew. In absolutely no way. They have no clue anything about me. Unless they're like the feds and they've been watching me. So this week was huge for DC TV. We had Arrow. I haven't talked to you guys since Arrow was on, and I haven't been on since, obviously, Legends of Tomorrow, which was last night. So I'm going to go through both of those, and then we're going to head over to DC Comics and check out the pool list for the week, which hasn't changed, and look at the hashtag DCTV secrets. So if you're just joining the show, there's major spoilers getting ready to come your way. So you may, if you haven't seen Arrow, now would be the time to leave, and you can come back. I'll have this video posted later. You can skip through this section. I might have a blinking light for you that says skip through this No, I won't, but it would be alright if I did. So this week in Arrow, a lot going on, and the big stunner for me, the big shocker for me this week was that Nyssa is still married. Nyssa and Ollie are still married, or are married, and I guess I completely forgot about that plot. Or part of the plot. I don't know how that skipped me, or how I skipped over that entirely, but I definitely did. So it came as quite a shock to me when it turns out that Nyssa is married to Ollie. It was definitely a WTF moment. But now, when I look at it, I'm thinking a little bit differently. Oliver's the man. We've got, Nyssa still calls him her husband every time they interact, no matter who's in the room. Felicity's actually engaged, they're actually engaged. For some reason, meeting Ollie's wife makes Felicity want to get married now. So Ollie potentially could have two wives. He could, it could become a Mormon society, and the entire Ollieverse. He's got Nyssa, his wife, and Felicity, his new bride. Eventually, he's supposed to be with Black Canary. So, actually, they've got the Birds of Prey right there, and Ollie. Birds of Prey and Ollie. Sounds I almost said sounds fun. Sounds good to me. So there's that. That was a constant little bit of a struggle. Actually, it's not a struggle at all. Both of them are understanding that it's a situation that they're in because of Roz. So Nyssa does refer to him as her husband, but it's not as though she gets jealous of his relationship really with Felicity or whoever at the time, because let's face it, that's who Ollie is for the most part in comics. Not really. I mean, once he goes Black Canary, he never goes back, and I just wish we'd get to that point in the show, but I'm not a big Felicity and Ollie romance, or what would you call that? Because I know, like in Smallville, we had Clawley and Clois, and they would always put names together like that on the forums. And I'm wondering what it is for Felicity. Felicitali? I don't know. Anyway, moving on. The next big theme of the night was that Nyssa and Merlin hate Thea. Both of them have a deep hate for Thea. And I say this only because both of them decide that it's okay to use her in their plot against the other. And so Nissa really, really wants to be the head of the League of Assassins. She wants to carry on the demons, be the demon's head. Merlin does not want to give up the power because he's Merlin. He's power hungry. He likes to be in control. He likes to be the big bad guy, and move in the shadows. And he pretends, or he says that it's because he doesn't want Nissa to have that much power. He says that the League of Assassins has been shaping the world for centuries, or shaping civilizations for centuries quietly, and he doesn't want someone like Nissa Al Ghul to have that much power. Which turns out to be absolute baloney. Ollie, throughout all of this, thinks that he's going to find a way to get these two to work together to save Thea, because she's sick, she's dying, and Nissa comes and she says that the only way that she's going to give the antidote that she seems to have for this sickness to Thea is if Merlin hands over his leadership of the League of Assassins. And Merlin refuses to do this. So basically, Ollie brings it down to a fight to the death between the two of them. You fight for it. And then, at the last minute, he chooses to stay, which leads to a pretty awesome moment, actually. Yes, and that is the next topic. Arrow chops it off. Brought to you by Mountain Dew. So, Merlin's hand, that is. Yeah, so they're in the fight. Arrow, Ollie's got the opportunity to kill Merlin. He doesn't take it. What he does do is chop off Merlin's hand, take the ring off of his finger that symbolizes leadership of the League of Assassins, and give it to Nissa. Oops, sorry, Care Bear. I chucked my notebook over on the couch, and it jostled the couch, and our dog Kara woke up. She's sleeping next to me on the couch while I'm doing this. I'm petting her. He chops the hand off. He takes the ring off. He gives it to Nissa. She is now the leader of the League of Assassins. But they've left Merlin alive and very, very bitter. You can only imagine how bitter. He just got his hand lopped off by a dude who he's been protecting from time to time, who happens to be the brother of his daughter, who he's been protecting for quite some time. And a guy who he confides in, They've shared several moments. Although Merlin's been a huge prick throughout the entire show, most of it, he's had his moments, and most recently they've had some decent ones. The problem, and Karen now can't stand for my notebook to be on the couch. She needs me to move it. So the problem now is that he's created this bitter, bitter enemy out of Merlin by doing this. I mean, imagine that. Imagine having your hand lopped off and your ring stolen and given to this other girl, Nissa, who you think is just utterly insane because she is the direct descendant of the last Ra's al Ghul that we knew, who was pretty insane. I mean, Ra's is always that way, or he's always more of a sociopath, really. But so they've left Merlin wounded but not dead, and they've turned over leadership to Nissa, who then thinks that the best thing she can do with the League of Assassins, who has been this horrible entity for the centuries, is disband the League. So Nissa pulls the plug, she disbands the League of Assassins, and there we are. The ninjas disperse. There's no one left to help anybody. And now we just have a bunch of purposeless ninjas roaming the earth. And that's what we're left with after that debacle. However, that's not the only thing we're left with. Merlin teams up with Damien Dark. So Ollie creates this horrible, horrible, horrible rift between himself and Malcolm Merlin. Malcolm is not the type of person that you really want pissed off at you, because he's the kind of guy who will just not stop until he has his revenge. Now he's going to team up with Damien Dark. We see at the end of the episode, and he finally shares with Damien Dark the key to taking down the Green Arrow. The key to defeating the man at his core. Probably the character that ends up in that grave from the flashback sequence, or the flash forward sequence that we saw a few weeks ago, and we're all curious about who that was. I'm just going to say it. Spoiler alert. Ollie's son is at risk now, because Damien Dark knows his identity. He knows where he's going to know where he is. He knows he has a son. That's enough for a person like that to end up finding out that information. But Malcolm Merlin has gone to him, and he has given him this information. Pretty forthcoming with it, actually. He has nothing. Merlin's a broken man now. He has, he's still rich. He's still, no, because he's supposed to be dead. So he has really nothing. And no league to help him whatsoever. And that's where we're pretty much left in this episode, is to wonder what's going to happen. What are they going to do? Are they going to trap down Ollie's son? Are they going to end up killing him or killing his mother? It's a pretty bold move if they do that. That's pretty hardcore, DC or WB. that would be pretty hardcore for the WB. They've done some things, but we've seen kids die before, but like in Smallville, that one aged to death. You know what I mean? It wasn't as though he died as a child. We'll see. They push the boundaries. That could be the heartbreaker. That could be the one that sends them over the edge. So that was this week on Arrow. Arrow will air again Wednesday at 8 p.m. on the CW. I urge you to watch it before you watch our end of week shows. And if you want to talk about it, you can go to KryptonSite.com, jump on the forums there, and talk about spoilers and speculation, what's coming in new episodes, get news on DC TV episodes to come and the past. And you can also join the live discussion during the show and countdown to the show. It's a really awesome place with a really awesome group of people. So moving on, Legends of Tomorrow. Legends of Tomorrow I had just watched, streamed, and it was pretty good, but it doesn't win my pick for this week. We'll get to that. I'm going to do the VAR Nation, the DCU tonight. DC TV Champion of the Week. That's really not what it'll be called. It might be called that, but I don't think so. Because someday, when I have the ability to actually do a real show and have music and, pop-up effects and picture-in-picture and camera, whatever. I might get a camera for my PS4. I don't know. Anyway, but someday when I have the right equipment, it'll be much more exciting and less of just, you'll be able to see the facial expressions that go along with the comments. Maybe some of my humor will be funny to you. So, Legends of Tomorrow this week. Legends of Tomorrow airs Thursday nights on the CW, and it's actually titled DC's Legends of Tomorrow. So if you're looking for it on the web, you're looking to catch past episodes, you can go to CWTV.com and check out the latest episodes, normally a day after they air. But I'll tell you what, if you follow CWTV on Twitter, you will be able to, they'll give the announcement when those are up. So it's always cool to go and check that out and support them at the source. I mean, they have their own forums too, so you can go there and talk about DCTV and a little bit of give a little bit of your own opinion. We've got some pretty cool things happening with DC Comics as far as merchandising is concerned. I saw today on Twitter there's a I have to look for the name of it, but it's an actual sponsored DC store, merchandising store online where you can buy clothes and you can buy just DC everything. It's incredibly awesome. I retweeted it, so I'm going to go find that bad boy right now because it's worth taking the time out of, what we're talking about to take a peek. ShopDCEntertainment.com. So that is official DC merchandise, and you can go to the website and find all kinds of stuff. I'm looking at a really kick-ass Superman Batman scarf right now, and I really want it. It's Superman on one side, Batman on the other. It's pretty badass. I don't wear scarves because I don't like to go outside. But if I did wear a scarf, I would wear that one. But I could use it for things inside, like decorating. That's what I normally do anyway. So anyway, back to Legends of Tomorrow. So we start this episode out. There's not a lot. I say this hesitantly. I hesitantly say this. Not a lot happened in this episode. But at the same time, a lot did happen in this episode. That's just the way that this show has been. It's been a lot of emotions. And now we're repeating those emotions. So Jax and Stein are back at it again, meaning they are at each other's throats. And at the beginning of this episode, or throughout the whole first part of this episode, Jax is back to being basically just pissed that he's the one who takes the damage when they're out in the field. He is the one whose body is being used, and so if he gets hurt as Firestorm, he's the one who bears the blunt of the pain. Now, if he was to get killed, of course, both he and Stein would end up dying, but that's not the point. Jax is just kind of pissed, and I thought that we had been over this already. I thought they wrapped that up in the previous episode when he decided that he wanted to stay and be a part of the team to try and write history and try to make the world a place where they wanted to live. That does not seem to be the case at the beginning of this episode, and I don't know if they're showing these a little bit out of order or not, but and now we're back to these two being at each other's throats, and Stein coming off like a kind of an angry parent. You know how when parents sometimes are so tired of bickering with their kids about something and have been trying to make a point that the kid's just not getting. Finally, it comes down to they just think the only thing to do is just scream it at him. And so that's what he ends up doing, which obviously doesn't go over very well. Just kind of pisses him off more. But these two still at odds together, and that leads to Stein going out and making some pretty big mistakes as far as, being part of the team, because it ends up getting him captured. He goes out on his own and tries to do something that he shouldn't do without being Firestorm. He's going to absorb this radioactive energy, and I don't know what would make him think, out of anything that he's ever been able to do, I'm not real sure what makes him think that he should be able to do this, but he does, and it makes him weak, and it makes him sick, obviously, and it causes him to be able to get captured. Not only that, but he's nowhere near Jackson when this happens. So isn't it the downfall of every superhero that needs to be part of a combination, like be it like the Super Twins or like whatever, they have to be together to activate their powers? I hate that, because then the plot is always, how do we get these two characters away from each other? And that's kind of what they always do. So every episode we're now in this kind of crouch position, wondering when are these two characters going to be able to be together so that Firestorm can save the day, pretty much. And then He doesn't. So he reacts. This is I'm jumping forward and backward here in the plot of this whole episode. So if you haven't seen it, it's not going to make sense to you anyway. If you have seen it, you know what I'm talking about. What actually gets them to come to grips or come to head with this fight is that Jax gets injured in the line of fire, and it's a really pretty dumb mistake. He just jumps out into the firefight and gets shot. He does some damage to Kronos, but in the end, Kronos' blast is enough to separate the two of them, injure Jax, and that causes this whole argument to go down, and Stein to go off on his own and end up getting injured himself. But that just goes back to every time there's a superhero that requires two people to merge, that becomes the plot of everything they're in, getting them broken apart. And they just got back together in the last episode, and now they're at odds again. Another thing that we see in this episode is Cold stepping up to the plate. He is quite the pickpocket, not only of identification cards and wallets, but also of ladies' hearts. This lady just so happens to like the bad boy a little bit more than she does the pressed and polished Ray Palmer, but we'll talk about why that is in the hashtag DCTV Secrets when we get to that later in the show. For now, I'm going to change the backdrop a little bit so we can stand in front of these wonderful DC-related DC posters that DCUO gave us for Bombshells when they came to the game, which was a tie-in with the Bombshells comics. So you can see Wonder Woman, Batgirl, Supergirl back there. Alright, so they're in a situation where they need to infiltrate got another dog coming in. I thought it was La Chupacabra. It's just Connor. So they need to infiltrate the Pentagon. Not only do they need to break into the U.S. government facility, but they need to get into the deepest part of the Pentagon. That's going to require them to have key cards. So here we see Leonard use his skills at pickpocketing to get a key card and also a wallet, which is a pretty awesome scene. He's really good at it. And he's kind of a ladies' man about it. They've got Ray Palmer and Leonard Snart posing as janitors in this facility, so they're mopping along, and Snart makes a comment like, "Hey, watch this," and he makes a wet spot. Girl slips. He grabs her in midair. Charms her a little bit, takes her wallet, and takes her key card. So they're able to get in. So he now knows that this is something that, they now know this is something that he can do really well. So later on in the episode, when they need to do a similar thing, breaking into Vandal's facility, which happens to be in none other than Soviet Russia during the Cold War, he uses his ability to pickpocket, but he's got to get close enough to the girl to do it. And they send Ray Palmer to get in with her, and she utterly blows him off. She just absolutely 100% gives him the cold shoulder. Snart goes up and talks to her. She digs him. She likes bad boys. It's obvious. They walk off together. He ends up getting what he needs from her. There's good reason for that we'll end up hitting up here in a little bit, but it's fun to see Snart talking to Ray Palmer and kind of moving out of just a mentorship role on the villain side, but into more of a mentorship role on the team. He's a leader, after all. I mean, whenever you see the Rogues, you see Captain Cold typically down front. And they follow him for a good reason. He's smart. He's good at what he does. He plans things very, very well. He's a master thief. And so, that's just what it is. But he's starting to show that more now with the entire group, which is super cool. And that said, we're going to get into that in a little bit more detail. I've got to take a quick commercial break because Connor Kent, my youngest dog, needs to use the restroom, and if I don't let him out, he's going to do it all over my foot. So we will be right back after this quick break. Alright, and we're back with DCU tonight. I'm your host, Rockvar. We are talking DCTV, and we're talking Legends of Tomorrow right now. Was just getting into a little bit of how Captain Cold is taking up more of a leadership role in this particular group, and it's nice to see that happen. I love the actor, so, the more that I can see him on screen, the better. Next, I ask the question, or I make the statement, Sarah can't even help herself. How can she help Kendra? Because Rip puts Sarah in charge of helping Kendra get over her rage issues. And, that's pretty much the pot calling the kettle black, because Sarah doesn't have control over her own rage issues, let alone the ability to help Kendra with hers. But she does a fairly decent job at it, and so they spend a fair amount of time sparring, as typically happens. And I'm telling you this right now, if you watch any DC TV shows or any DC cartoons, animated series, I guess I should say, animated movies, TV movies, whatever, these people spar to get through their issues. So they take to the sparring, and she pisses Kendra off. The wings come out. She, goes for blood. But then what she doesn't realize is that that's going to piss Sarah off, and now Sarah's going to go for blood. Both of which are stopped by themselves. They exercise self-control. But, that's exactly what you think is going to happen. So maybe that's the answer. You got to have, if you're going to learn to control your rage, I guess, learning to control it with someone who you care about would be better than someone who you don't care about, because what's the incentive to stop, I guess, if it's someone you hate or someone you don't even like or know? You're just going to keep on fighting. But in this case, it's someone that she semi-cares about, and so that's enough to stop each person from wanting to basically snuff the other one out, and that's what we see happen. So those two may end up being a good pair for each other, the warrior ladies. We may see a little Birds of Prey action happen here on Legends of Tomorrow, which I think is the general idea of that. Heatwave gets to be in a showdown. He's always excited to use his gun. In fact, when he's getting ready to go on one of the missions, that's what he asks Rip is, am I going to get to use my gun? And Rip tells him yes, and then when they get there, and seems as though that they're talking about things peaceably, Heatwave's like, well, you said I was going to get to use my gun. So he finally gets to get in a fight with Kronos. He doesn't seem to fare very well. It's pretty much just a lot of shooting going back and forth. That's the fight when Firestorm gets hurt. But he does get to see some action and do more than just deliver a clever, villain line every once in a while, which is always good for that character. The team stands up to the Time Masters and Kronos in that battle, which is very, very fun. I need to go back. While I'm doing this, I'm going to DCComics.com and getting ready for the DC TV secrets. So that's the showdown where, in fact, Rip's former trainer comes, or former mentor comes to try and take him back to their time and try to reset the damage that he's done, which is a pretty steady theme in Rip Hunter's world as far as his appearances in comics are concerned, because if you really look at it, most everything that has happened in the DC universe that's just gone wild has been as a result of him changing something else, or he and his father changing something else, but we'll get to that. Hashtag DCTV secret. Who is Rip Hunter's father? If you know that, leave it in the comments below and say you posted it before I told you, because I'm going to tell you here in a minute. But Ray Palmer, the Boy Scout / Eagle Scout. There's a comment made where Snark calls Ray Palmer Boy Scout, and I love it, obviously, because to me it's a reference of Brandon Routh being Superman in Superman Returns, and I love that movie despite what critics or anybody else says about it. I do love that movie. It's got, to me, the best Superman moment that I've seen outside of the original Superman movies. It perfectly describes, there's a moment in Superman Returns that perfectly describes, I feel like it perfectly describes the reason why everyone should love Superman. And it's the moment where, I always want to call him Chris Kent, where the kid, Lois, and Cyclops, because this movie ended up being a crossover between DC and Marvel, but Richard, I believe, is his name. So you've got Richard, you've got Lois, and you've got the kid there, and they're all in Lex's ship, and it's broken in half. They're trapped in this waterproof section of it that's filling with water. They can't open the door to get out, and it's sinking in the water, and it actually sinks down, starts to sink down below the water, and you see, they're in there looking up through this portal, I'm going to call it, window, or porthole, actually. They're looking through the porthole. That sounds like a Donnie Baker song, but it would be looking through the porthole. But looking through the porthole, and they see water come over it. And it's at that moment, they're treading water to stay at the top of this thing, and to where they can at least see the outside. They're treading water. The water's up to their chin. If you haven't seen the movie, I'm about to spoil something. Water's up to their chin, going over their mouths. They're gasping for air at the same time. He's holding Lois because I think she's knocked out right now. The kid's holding on to his back. It's just they're gonna die. That's all there is to it. It's at that moment that he knows, I'm dead. There's not, and for all intents and purposes, our son are gonna die. And it's at that moment that you start to see the ship getting lifted towards the top of the water, and it comes, the water rushes off the top of it. So now he can at least see that he's not drowning. The door comes off. Superman's hand reaches inside. He grabs a hold of Superman's hand. Brandon Routh. Brandon Routh looks down at the pack and he says, "Do you have them?" or something like that. And Richard's like, nodding, yeah. And he's like, hang on. Superman then lets go of the ship, and you see that he had them way up in the sky, and they're clearly out of the water because he's holding the entire ship with his other hand. With one arm, he's holding this entire ship, and with the other arm, he's holding on to Richard and Lois. He lets go of the ship drops, and there's a beautiful scene where you realize that Superman will always be there to save you. And your darkest, deepest, darkest, most horrible moment, when you think that nothing else bad can happen, because there's nothing that can possibly be worse than what's already happened, and there's no humanly way anyone could ever save you. This is the pit of all that you've ever felt that is horrible. You're scared beyond any belief. That guy can save you, and he can do it with one arm, and he will do it with one arm, and he will do it for anyone, whether you've been nice, whether you've been a dick, whether you've helped people, whether you're a villain, whether you made mistakes in your life, whether, it doesn't matter. The question with Superman is not, why should I save you? It's a simple statement: I am going to save you. And it's at that moment that I want to take that clip and say, this is why Superman. He's not going to judge you. He's just going to save you. And there ain't nothing that's going to stop him from doing it. And that's all I have to say about that. Other than, now that I've gone on this huge rant about Superman Returns, Savage, in this episode, is revealed that Savage wants to make or copy the Firestorm. I don't know what you would call that. Catastrophe that resulted in emerging. I don't know, but he's wanting to recreate that because he wants to make a Soviet Firestorm that can, at that point, help stop the Legend of Tomorrow. So we realize that that it's because he encountered them in that meeting that he's had 10 years now, since they've time jumped. He's had 10 years now to try and figure out a way to defeat them, and what he's doing is trying to recreate and make his own Firestorm, and he's trying to do it on a huge scale. And so that's what they're trying to stop him from doing in all of this. And I skipped over the whole thing about the Boy Scout. That's what got me off track completely, was the Ray Palmer reference, where they call Ray Palmer, Snart calls him the Boy Scout. Obviously, he's played Superman, which is normally known as the Boy Scout, and Palmer replies back kind of that he's an Eagle Scout, which he is. An awesome dude now. He's Ray Palmer. So, but anyway, Savage wants to create his Firestorm. He's wanting to use that to take over the world, or at least stop the Legends of Tomorrow. And now the Time Lords are going to get involved. It's revealed that the Time Lords are not Time Lords. I jumped directly to Doctor Who. The Time Masters are involved now, and they are planning on making a deal with the team here. They can either go back to their time and they can work to reset everything that's been done. Or the Time Masters can, not the Legends of Tomorrow. The Legends of Tomorrow, they want them to just go back to basically the same day they left. They're going to take Rip off, and they're going to try to rip off. They're going to try to fix the damage they feel that he's caused the timeline, but they're using Kronos basically to hunt him down. And so it comes out that, even if he does turn himself in, and even if they do go back, or say that they'll go back to their timeline, the Time Masters are going to kill him anyway. So that's where we're at. They're chasing him. He's, we've got Stein's captured now. And we'll have to see what happens with the whole Firestorm thing. Stein's pretty injured, and so is Jax. So I don't know where we're going with that. But it is time, and I urge you, if you enjoyed Legend of Tomorrow this week, or even if you didn't enjoy it, go over to KryptonSite.com and talk about it on the forums. And they'll have all kinds of news and spoilers and speculation about what's to come in those episodes. Not only there, but on the Krypton Site news page. So, moving on to the hashtag DCTV secrets portion of the show. Rip Hunter has assembled a team to stop Vandal Savage, but Savage's location isn't the only secret in the series. We're here to tease you with the hashtag DCTV secrets. Number 1, let's keep it positive, it says. So, Valentina von Stock. That sounds like something straight out of Archer. Valentina von Stock shows Ray and Snart she has no qualms about helping Vandal develop another Firestorm. She's fierce and no nonsense, just like her namesake in the comics. The Soviet Air Force officer who eventually became Negative Woman made her debut in Showcase number 94. Valentina was leaving Russia behind for the United States when she crashed her stolen plane into the same spot where the original Doom Patrol presumably died. Talk about a terrible coincidence. There she merged with energy that once belonged to Negative Man. So that's how she became Negative Woman in the comics. Valentina became Negative Man's replacement and made it to the U.S., where she joined the second iteration of the Doom Patrol. After losing her powers when Negative Man was found to actually be alive, Valentina worked for the U.S. government in a variety of super secret roles. She ended up replacing Amanda Waller as the White Queen, the leader of Checkmate. So that is why in this episode, she goes for the bad boy, and she's into Snart because she is actually a very, very bad girl, outside of what we've seen in Legends of Tomorrow thus far. It says that time Brandon Routh went rogue is the second hashtag DCTV secret. Ray Palmer jokes about how he's always wanted to be a spy, but actor Brandon Routh has already been there and done that. He played Daniel Shaw, a rogue CIA agent in the television series Chuck. I don't know how that's a DCTV secret, but I'm really happy to be able to talk about Chuck on the show, because Chuck was awesome, and Brandon Routh was in it. So if you haven't seen Chuck, I don't know if you're going to be able to find that on Netflix. I don't think so. I think you're going to have to look it up online or buy it. Go old school and buy the DVD. Isn't that funny that that's a thing now? Going old school and buying a DVD or a Blu-ray. A familiar nickname. Superheroes acquire nicknames over the years in comics. The Flash is called the Scarlet Speedster, Green Arrow is known as the Emerald Archer, and Hawkman and Hawkgirl are sometimes referred to as Winged Avengers. Rip used that moniker for Kendra Hall and, Kendra in tonight's episode. So, if you are a fan of the Hawks, you probably caught that before I even said it. Real estate in a different dimension. And this is based on a reference that's made in there. Time Master Druce isn't pleased with Rip's actions, and he wants to take the troublesome Time Master back to Vanishing Point. In the comics, Vanishing Point is both a location and a title. It's nestled in the dimension separate from space and time, and is basically located at the end of time, is what they say. In Time Master's Vanishing Point, the comic, the fortress was the home of Rip's family. Rip's father in the comics, and this is when I told you earlier in the show that we were going to talk about, you were going to guess who Rip Hunter's father was and leave it in the comments. You need to have done that and just put in there, I said this before you told me, or I posted this before you told me. Booster Gold is Rip Hunter's father. So Rip's father in the comics, Booster Gold, teleported the residents to the end of time to keep it hidden. And there's a lot that I didn't know about the relationship between Rip Hunter and Booster Gold until checking out this hashtag DCTV secrets and then going back and reading up on Rip Hunter. And what I found was very, very interesting. I encourage you to do the same. We'll probably end up having an entire series based around going over characters' backstories, and then we've got a very, 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 very cool what do you call it? I can't think about it right now. I'm going to have to say website that I'm going to send you to look at various styles. We've got a friend and league member and brother-in-law, dear friend, who does an excellent job of making styles. And so I'm going to see about getting together with him and talk about, I could show some footage in the stream of what he's put up there and direct you over there, and then he puts bios up there as well, so we could look at those while we're looking at the styles that have been made. That is going to be something that would be done probably not live, because I'm going to have to go and take screenshots of the actual page. But more information of that and more to come on that, because I haven't even talked to him about it yet first. I probably shouldn't drop that bomb live on my show before I ask if it's okay, but stay tuned, more on that to come, because it's really cool and I think you guys will enjoy it. But that is all for the DC TV section of the show tonight. I'm heading over to DCComics.com, which is, we've been reading off DCComics.com as far as the hashtag DCTV secrets, but I want to once again go over the pull list, and then I'm going to cut you loose, take a break, and maybe come back and do some late night streaming in a little while, just gameplay stuff. But if you go to DC Comics right now, they are celebrating Valentine's Day. And don't forget, Sunday, folks, is Valentine's Day. If you haven't made plans, or you don't have anything for your lady, you need to make sure you get that underway, or else you're going to be sleeping in the doghouse or wherever she's nice penthouse in Metropolis with Lois Lane. But right now, DC All Access has a video up here, the top 10 DC Comics love stories. You can watch that video. Of course, it's got Superman and Lois Lane on the cover. There is a Valentine's Day sale titled Mad Love going on right now on DCComics.com, a digital comic sale. You can check that out. Classic Harley is telling you all about the deal there for half off a lot of the comics, so go check that out. If you need to catch up on anything, I need to catch up on Convergence. They've got another DC unboxing or whatever up here, and I wish that I would get sent some boxes to open, because these things are so cool. But the pull list for this week hasn't changed yet again, other than the fact that they're all available. Batman number 49, Batman Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles number 3, and Justice League Gods and Monsters, all now available on DCComics.com. And I want to thank you guys for joining us tonight on the show. DCU Tonight is my dream. VAR Nation is my dream, to be the channel that can house all of these different shows. But the show that I love to do the most is DCU Tonight. I've always been a huge fan of Entertainment Tonight, and I've always thought that would be a great thing for DC Comics to have. Unfortunately, they hired people to do DC Access before I had the ability to do anything here, but that's cool. We're getting there. They're getting very, very close to doing what I had originally hoped would happen, but I still want to do it my way. So thank you for joining me. Thank you for making it possible. If you can, share and like the video once it's up on YouTube. Comment, let me know what you think about the changes in Game Update 22, and request any requests that you want to make as far as what kind of content we talk about on the show. I'll definitely take a look and see if it's something that will fit. I'm excited for any type of insight you can give me, but most of all, I'm excited that you watch the show. Please visit our website, www.barnationdcuo.com. We have a Patreon page, so you can help us keep the thing going by donating on our Patreon page, patreon.com/varnation. You can do the same thing on our YouTube page. There's a support button on there. If you want to help us live the dream, any donation helps. It will only go to getting our equipment up to par so we can put on better programming and make it look classier and make it more exciting for you. But other than that, if you can't do any of those things, please subscribe and like. We both gained and lost a subscriber in the past days. So we went from 135 to 136 back to 135. So I done pissed somebody off. But anyway, thank you for your support. And for Hippolyta Kent, this is Rock Var saying peace out.